Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. I used to think love could survive anything, distance, stress, even temptation. But I was wrong. Sometimes, love doesn't die in a single blow. It bleeds out slowly, one unanswered call at a time. For me, it began with the late nights. Haley would come home hours after her shift ended, smelling of perfume that wasn't hers. Traffic, she'd mumble, tossing her purse onto the counter. I'd pretend to believe her. Pretend that the woman standing before me was still the same one who used to dance barefoot in our kitchen when we first moved into this house. Her laugh used to fill these walls. Now silence did. I'm Logan Hayes, 33, owner of a small but growing auto shop on the edge of Phoenix. I built it from scratch. Every bolt, every tool, every deal was earned the hard way. Haley, my wife of 4 years, was the dream I'd never thought I'd catch. Ambitious, magnetic, confident. She made me believe that settling down didn't mean giving up adventure. But lately, she'd been living a double life right in front of me. The phone always face down. The sudden trips for work. The guarded smile when she'd text someone and quickly hide her screen. I'd seen it before in customers who came in to fix a dented car and lied about what really caused it. That quiet guilt. That effort to look normal. And I knew, deep down, I was being lied to. Still, I kept hoping. I tried date nights, cooking her favorite meals, even leaving her notes like I used to. But she just rolled her eyes and said, "Logan, stop acting so needy." That night, a Friday, I stayed late at the shop. The engine noise always drowned out the thoughts I didn't want to face. Around 10 p.m., I sat on the hood of a car I just finished tuning and stared at my phone. No call, no text, just that gnawing feeling again. Haley had said she was going out with friends, but something in her tone felt rehearsed. When I finally closed the shop and started driving home, I passed a familiar street, the one leading to her ex's apartment complex. For a second, my hand froze on the steering wheel. I didn't stop, but my gut twisted. I knew her patterns by now. I knew the way she'd tilt her head when lying, the exact pauses between her words. I parked in our driveway 20 minutes later. The porch light was off. The house, dark and cold. Inside, her purse was gone, her perfume faintly lingering in the air. Her favorite jacket missing from the hook. I poured myself a whiskey and sat down at the kitchen table. That's when my phone buzzed. A message. I expected a casual "be home late." Instead, I read, "I'm staying over at Mark's place tonight. Deal with it or we're done." My chest burned, but not with pain, with something sharper. Clarity. I stared at the words for a long moment, then set the phone down gently, almost calmly. Years of loyalty, trust, sacrifice, reduced to that one arrogant message. I could have shouted, driven to that man's place, confronted her. But no, that's what she'd expect. She wanted chaos, drama, proof she still had power over me. So instead, I typed, "You don't need to choose, Haley. We're already done." And with that, I put the phone away. But as I sat there, something inside me shifted. It wasn't heartbreak. It was resolve. I'd been too patient, too forgiving, too blind. I'd ignored the late-night calls, the hotel receipts that weren't hers, the way she'd suddenly wear perfume I'd never bought. No more. I poured the whiskey down the sink, grabbed my laptop, and opened a folder I'd been keeping secret. Screenshots, credit card statements, photos she didn't know I'd seen. Every piece of truth she thought she'd buried. I wasn't planning to use it until that text. I'd been gathering evidence for months. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I knew one day I'd need the truth to protect myself. And that day had just arrived. An hour later, I was still sitting there when headlights swept across the living room wall. A car door slammed. Footsteps hurried up the porch. Then the front door burst open. Haley stood there in her red dress, face pale, mascara streaked down her cheeks. Her voice shook as she blurted, "Logan, what did you do?" Her hands trembled around her phone. I leaned back in my chair, calm as the eye of storm, and said quietly, "I didn't do anything, Haley." "You did." She looked past me, eyes darting to the laptop glowing on the table. Open to a folder she recognized instantly. The same folder that had her face, her lies, her truth. Her knees buckled slightly. "You wouldn't." I stood up slowly, meeting her eyes for the first time that night. Oh, I already did. And the color drained from her face. She realized too late that the man she thought was weak had finally stopped waiting for her to come home. Haley stood frozen in the doorway, her lipstick smudged, her pulse visible in her neck. For the first time in years, she didn't have control. She wasn't the one calling the shots, twisting stories, or turning guilt into guilt trips. Her voice broke the silence. Logan, please, let's just talk about this. I said nothing at first. I just watched her, watched the panic crawl in her eyes like she was finally seeing what she destroyed. Talk, I finally said, my tone calm, too calm. We passed talking months ago. I tried to talk when you stopped coming home. I tried to talk when you started lying about where you were. And now, you text me from your ex's house. And suddenly you want to talk. She swallowed hard. It wasn't what it looked like. I laughed, low and bitter. Then tell me, Haley, what exactly does it look like when a married woman spends the night with her ex and tells her husband to deal with it? She flinched, like the words physically hit her. Her confidence, the one she used like armor, was cracking fast. I just needed time to think, she stammered. You've been so distant, Logan. Always working. Always tired. I felt like I didn't even exist anymore. I tilted my head. So you found someone else to make you feel real. Tears filled her eyes, but I'd learned long ago not to mistake them for remorse. Haley cried when cornered, not when guilty. She stepped closer. Please, I made a mistake. I was stupid. It didn't mean anything. That's what all cheaters say. It didn't mean anything. As if betrayal feels softer when it's casual. I turned the laptop toward her. Then maybe you can explain why your mistake lasted 6 months. Her breath caught. The screen showed screenshots, photos, timestamps, even hotel bills, receipts that matched the nights she claimed to be working late. She sank onto the couch, covering her mouth. Oh my God. I leaned against the counter, my voice steady but cold. You thought I didn't know. You thought I'd just keep fixing your lies like I fix engines, tighten a few bolts, keep it running. But I stopped fixing us the day you stopped being honest. She started sobbing, reaching for me. Logan, please, I'll do anything. I'll leave him. Haley. I interrupted. You already left. You just didn't realize it. Her face crumbled. I walked to the door and opened it wide. You wanted to stay at Mark's? You should probably get back before he wonders where you went. Don't do this, she whispered. You can't just throw me out like this. I met her eyes, and for once, there was no emotion left in me. Not anger, not pain, just finality. You did that yourself. She hesitated for a moment, as if hoping I'd break. I didn't. She finally stood, grabbed her purse, and left, her heels clicking down the driveway until the night swallowed her. I closed the door quietly behind her, but the real revenge wasn't about kicking her out. It wasn't about rage or shouting. It was about letting her feel the emptiness she'd left me in for months, and showing her that I could rebuild without her. Over the next few days, I stayed calm. I didn't text, didn't call, didn't block her either. That silence ate at her faster than any insult could have. I focused on my work instead. I expanded the shop's hours, closed a new business deal with a luxury car dealership, and spent time fixing up an old Mustang I'd been neglecting. The shop radio played quietly in the background as I worked late one evening, when a familiar voice broke the peace. Logan. I turned. Haley stood there in jeans and a hoodie, no makeup, eyes red from crying. She looked smaller somehow, like someone who'd lost her reflection. I just wanted to see you, she said softly. Mark, he's not what I thought. I smiled faintly. People rarely are when the fantasy wears off. She stepped closer. Please, Logan, can we start over? I'll do counseling, anything. I know I messed up, but I still love you. I studied her for a moment, remembering the woman who used to fall asleep on my shoulder, laughing about dreams we never chased. Then I remembered the message, the smirk behind every lie, the silence she gave me when I begged for truth. I shook my head slowly. Love isn't what you say, Haley. It's what you protect. And you didn't protect us. You buried us. Her tears fell hard now, but my heart didn't move. I'd already grieved the woman she used to be. I walked past her and unlocked the office door. You should go. There's nothing left here for you. Logan, please, she whispered again, but her voice faded under the rumble of engines outside. My crew had arrived for a late project. The life I'd built kept moving forward. Haley turned and left again, slower this time. But what she didn't know was that my revenge wasn't over. She thought the worst thing I could do was let her go. She had no idea that I'd already set the rest in motion, a calm, strategic unraveling of everything she tried to gain for betraying me. Because the truth wasn't just between us anymore. And soon, everyone who thought she was perfect would know who she really was. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the blinds, but it didn't feel warm. It felt like a reminder of endings and beginnings. Haley's side of the bed was cold, and for once, that emptiness didn't hurt. It felt freeing. I got up early, brewed strong coffee, and headed straight to the garage. Work had always been my escape, but now it was more than that. It was purpose. The sound of engines, the smell of oil and steel, it grounded me. It reminded me that even when people break, machines can be rebuilt. As I tightened the last bolt on a black Corvette, my phone buzzed. A message from a mutual friend popped up. You might want to check Haley's social media. She's losing it. Curious, I opened her page. Her posts were gone. Every picture of us deleted overnight. The comments were chaos. People asking what happened, others gossiping, some defending her. But one detail stood out. Someone had leaked screenshots. The same one she saw on my laptop. My evidence. Except, I hadn't posted them. For a moment, I froze, unsure what to think. Then I realized the truth. Haley's guilt had caught up with her. She'd told one too many lies, and someone else she deceived had decided to show the world who she really was. By noon, it was everywhere. Her friends were messaging me, asking if it was true. Her company's marketing page had gone quiet, and while I hadn't lifted a finger, justice was already moving on its own. I didn't celebrate. I just took a long breath, put my phone away, and went back to work. Because revenge, real revenge, isn't about destroying someone. It's about letting them see what life looks like when they destroy themselves. Still, I had one last thing to do. That evening, I drove across town to the apartment she'd shared with Mark. The building looked old, poorly lit, with cars parked crooked in the lot. I walked up the stairs slowly, each step echoing against the metal rail. When she opened the door, her eyes went wide. She looked exhausted, hair messy, eyes swollen. "Logan, what are you doing here?" "I came to return something." I handed her a small box, our wedding ring set. Hers was inside, mine beside it. She took it in her shaking hands, staring at it like it burned. I can't take this." "You already did," I said quietly, "the moment you decided I wasn't enough." Tears welled in her eyes. "Please, Logan, I never wanted this. I don't even know who I am anymore." "You'll figure it out," I said. "Without me." I turned to leave, but she grabbed my arm. "Do you hate me?" I paused, looking at her one last time. "No, Haley, I pity you. Because I loved you more than you loved yourself." And that was the truth. She wasn't evil, just lost, selfish, and too scared to admit it. When I got back to my truck, I sat there for a while, staring at the ring box she hadn't closed. That small symbol of forever, now hollow. I thought about everything I'd done for her, how much I'd sacrificed, sleep, time, trust, and realized something I hadn't before. She wasn't my whole world. She was just a chapter, and that chapter had ended. Over the next few weeks, life slowly started to rebuild itself. I hired 2 new employees at the shop, bought a new set of tools, and started teaching neighborhood kids how to fix engines for free on weekends. Giving back filled a space inside me that bitterness never could. But the past has a way of showing up when you least expect it. One Friday afternoon, a silver SUV pulled up outside the garage. Haley stepped out. She looked different, humbled. Her usual confident walk was gone. She moved carefully, like she was afraid to break again. "Logan," she said softly, hands in her pockets. "Can I talk to you?" I wiped my hands on a rag. "Make it quick." "I wanted to apologize," she said. "Not for you to take me back. I know that's not happening, but for how I treated you. You didn't deserve it." Her voice cracked. She meant it this time. I nodded slowly. "You're right. I didn't. But I appreciate you saying it." She hesitated, looking around the shop. "You've done well. You always were good at rebuilding things." I smiled faintly, including myself. She gave a weak smile, nodded once, and turned to leave. For the first time, I didn't feel anger or sadness, just peace. That night, I sat on the porch, the city lights flickering in the distance. I thought about how love can twist into something unrecognizable when trust disappears. I thought about how sometimes losing someone isn't the worst thing. It's surviving them that makes you stronger. I didn't expose her to ruin her life. I didn't post anything, didn't speak to her company. The truth found its way out on its own. And maybe that's how karma works, quietly, without needing applause. In the end, I didn't need revenge. I just needed closure. Still, one last message lit up my phone later that night. Haley, I finally moved out of his place. Starting over. Thank you for not destroying me. I typed back one sentence and set the phone down. You did that all by yourself. Then I leaned back, closed my eyes, and for the first time in months, slept peacefully, knowing I hadn't just lost someone. I found myself again. 6 months passed, and I barely recognized my life anymore. Thankfully, the shop had expanded, business was booming, and for the first time in years, I woke up every morning without that dull weight pressing on my chest. My days were filled with purpose, fixing cars, training my team, grabbing lunch at the small diner across the street where the owner, an older woman named Linda, always greeted me with a smile that felt like warmth after a storm. I wasn't chasing happiness anymore. I was building it. Sometimes, though, I catch myself remembering Haley, not with anger, but with quiet disbelief. How two people could love so deeply and still lose everything. But I learned something from it all. Love only lasts when both people fight to keep it alive. I fought alone for too long. One afternoon, as I was finishing up a job, a customer walked in, a woman in her late 20s with a soft smile and a paint-stained jacket. Her name was Rachel Carter, an art teacher from the local high school. She laughed when I joked about her car being one bad day away from retirement. And that laugh, it didn't hurt to hear. It reminded me that maybe, just maybe, life gives you new chances when you stop staring at the closed doors. Over the next few weeks, Rachel and I talked more. Coffee runs turned into walks. Walks turned into conversations that lasted hours. She wasn't flashy, or loud, or wrapped in pretense. She was just real. The kind of real that doesn't demand attention. It earns it. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I had to prove my worth. I could just be. But closure came in an unexpected way. One evening, while locking up the shop, I saw a familiar figure standing by the fence. Haley. Her hair shorter now, her clothes simple, almost humble. She looked nervous as she approached. I heard you're doing well, she said softly. I am, I replied. You? She shrugged. I'm getting there. Found a small job out of town. Trying to stay off social media for a while. I nodded. That's probably a good idea. She hesitated, her eyes glistening. I came to say thank you. Not for what happened, but for how you handled it. You didn't drag me through the mud, Logan. You let me face myself. For a long second, neither of us spoke. Then I said quietly, you made mistakes, Haley, but I made mine too. I ignored the distance. I let silence grow between us. Doesn't excuse what you did, but I've learned from it. She smiled faintly. You always were the better one. I shook my head. No, I just finally learned when to stop fixing what doesn't want to be repaired. She nodded slowly, tears in her eyes. Goodbye, Logan. Goodbye, Haley. And that was it. No yelling. No closure speech. Just peace between two people who'd once promised forever and learned that sometimes forever is shorter than you think. As she walked away, I felt something lift from my chest. A final goodbye to the man who'd lived in her shadow. Weeks later, Rachel stopped by the shop again, holding 2 cups of coffee. I figured you'd still be working this late, she said with a grin. I smiled, taking the cup. You figure right. She glanced around the garage, then at me. You've got a good thing going here, Logan. You deserve some light in your life again. Maybe I did. That night, as I stood outside watching the sun set behind the desert hills, I thought about everything I'd lost and everything I'd found. Sometimes revenge isn't about payback. It's about rebuilding a life so strong. The person who broke you can't recognize who you've become. And that's exactly what I did. Haley had her lesson. I had my peace. And for the first time in a long time, I was free.